Okay, let's just sit together for just a moment at the beginning, just a quiet minute together, okay? Can you hear this gong? Can you hear that? Thank you. Just relaxing, settling, just being. Okay, great. Great to see you all. Thanks for coming. It's more fun doing this with other people here than just by myself. That would be lonely. Each Thursday evening, I will presume that you have viewed all of my prior presentations from the prior Thursdays, either live or from the recordings of them on the course website. Okay? Is that all right? So again, the title of this course is Finding a Secure Core of Compassion and Awareness for an Insecure Time. So I'm going to say a few things, and of course you do not have to agree, but I'm just going to lay them out because they help set up the next practices we will do. The sense of insecurity that many of us feel now comes not just from the situation that we find ourselves in, but from the painful feelings that the situation evokes in us. Is that clear so far? But actually, the sense of insecurity that we feel is not just coming from the painful feelings that we experience. It comes from not knowing how to be with those feelings in a safe, healing way, from which to become present to others in a more safe and healing way. Is that clear? I'll just repeat that. This is how I see it, and it also sets up our next meditations. The insecurity we feel is not coming just from the situation we're in, but from the painful feelings that it evokes. And that insecurity we feel actually is not coming just from experiencing painful feelings, but from not knowing how to be with those feelings in a safe, healing way, from which we could become present to others also in a more safe and healing way. It's not knowing how to be with our feelings in that way that's the real problem. And so I would say that feelings are the key, actually, to everything that matters to us. Feelings are the key also here for finding a secure inner core of compassion and awareness and inner safety. And tonight we're going to focus then on feelings further. We have already been focusing on them. Feelings, emotions, especially painful feelings that we may be experiencing in this pandemic. We have already been focusing our attention on them in the prior sessions, and now we're going to go a little further with that. Will that be okay? Nobody's objecting? At first, I want to reacquaint with the field of care meditation that we've been doing the past 2 weeks. And again, whatever I introduce on Thursday night, I'll repeat it on Friday night. And I would ask if you would like to repeatedly reconnect with the practice that's been introduced. So we're kind of training in it over the week until the next weekly session. So here, I want to just very briefly repeat the meditation we did before, the field of care meditation, which is in the receptive mode, this mode of practice of deepening receptivity. And we're going to do the field of care meditation with a focus on our feelings. So like we've done before, could you please just settle into your body? So kind of drop down from the head into the body, from the thinking mind into the feeling of the body as a whole. And as you settle into your body, please try to become aware from within of any feeling related to the pandemic that may be there. It's like a feeling perhaps of anxiety or fears for yourself or others, or grief or sadness or loneliness or frustration or worry. Just whatever it is, just dropping down into the body, feel from within whatever feeling may be there related to this pandemic crisis, or tension or stress or whatever it is. Okay, could everybody do that? Thank you. Now we're going to do the field of care meditation, which is the receptive mode of the kind of training we're exploring called sustainable compassion training. And there are 3 options for how to enter into this meditation. The caring moment that makes you happy to recall, just one moment of caring or loving connection with another person or being that makes you happy to recall. That's the first option. A second option, if this connects better for you, is to bring to mind a benefactor, that someone you are grateful has been in your life or in your world. Someone, when you think of that person, it's uplifting, feels uplifting, inspiring. That's a benefactor. That's a second option. A third option for entering into the field of care meditation is to bring to mind a spiritual figure, perhaps a spiritual figure from your own tradition, like the Buddha or Jesus or Mary or a prophet or a saint or however it is, or a spiritual ancestor that's deeply meaningful to you and who embodies unconditional love, compassion, wisdom. So those are the 3 options for how to set up your field of care. A caring moment that you would re-inhabit, a benefactor you could bring to mind that's uplifting for you to think of, or a spiritual figure in your own tradition that's deeply meaningful to you. Does everybody understand that? Those 3 options? Can you pick your best option? The one that helps you sense that you are held in a kind of a field of care, loving energy, warmth, acceptance, or being seen. So choose your option now and just sense for a moment how it feels to bring that to mind, to be within that caring moment, or to be in the presence of that benefactor or spiritual figure, to be with them, feeling how that feels. So that is your field of care for this meditation, okay? Now I'll remind you of the 3 principles of this field of care meditation, receptive mode. Accessing, noticing, and including. So first, by bringing to mind our field of care, it's meaningful and connecting for us, we immediately start to access loving qualities, like feelings of warmth, acceptance, being seen, love, care, connection, qualities like many of you named in a prior session. We immediately start to access those when we inhabit our field of care. So we access those loving qualities and we just steep in them. Secondly, then we notice any feelings or parts of us that arise that start to draw our attention away from those loving qualities. Any part of us, any sense of self or associated feelings that draw our attention away from those loving qualities. So we're no longer just steeping in them, no longer just feeling them, but starting to think about other things and reacting in other ways. That's noticing that part of us or those feelings that come up that draw us away. And then the third principle is including. So include those feelings or that part of you in the caring space of these qualities, these loving qualities. Accessing the loving qualities and steeping in them. Noticing when some part of you and associated feelings draw you away from that, draw your attention away. And then including that part of you and those feelings in the caring space of these loving qualities. Is that clear? That's what we're going to do. That'll be the meditation instruction. And one last reminder is, I like this metaphor. We use this field of care, your caring moment or benefactor or spiritual figure that you bring to mind. We use that field of care like a bucket for drawing water. The bucket helps us draw up water, access water from the well, and then we drink the water. We do not play with the bucket. So similarly, the field of care helps us evoke loving qualities from our underlying awareness. And then we steep in those qualities, we drink them in, those loving qualities. We do not ruminate over whether the field of care is good enough for us. Is that clear? We drink the water, we don't play with the bucket that brought it out. We steep in the loving qualities. We do not ruminate about the field of care, whether it's good enough or not. That's the instruction, at least. Okay, so shall we begin? What do you say? What else are we going to do, right? We're supposed to do something, so let's do it. Okay, so let's begin with some abdominal breathing. And just sitting comfortably, back comfortably straight. Eyes could be open, gazing downward if you'd like. And just settle into the natural rhythm of your ordinary breathing. Except please breathe into your abdomen so your abdomen expands with each inhale. And feel the abdomen expand with the inhale each time. Letting your mind just kind of settle into the feeling of the abdomen more and more. Just feeling the abdomen expand and contract with each breath in the natural rhythm of your breath. Just feeling that. And now recall your field of care, a caring moment or your benefactor or spiritual figure, and experience that field of care as present to you now. So this is not just a memory of a caring moment or an abstract thought of a benefactor. It's happening now. You are in that caring moment now, and it is now happening, or that benefactor is here with you. And you are being seen in your deep worth, and dignity beyond judgments, with deep care and compassion. And you just relax into the felt sense of that, the feeling of that, just steeping in its loving energy, feeling its tender qualities, and letting them infuse your whole being. So letting this loving energy and its qualities, accepting it into your whole body and mind, every cell of your body. And into every layer of your feelings and emotions. All gently penetrated by this loving energy and tender qualities. Every part of you loved in its very being. Just accepting it. And let any feelings related to this pandemic crisis also be here. Any feeling of anxiety or fear or loneliness or grief or stress, whatever it is. Just let any such feelings also be held in the spacious warmth and acceptance of these loving energies and qualities. Fully allowing any feelings to be here in this space of compassion, letting them just settle in their own way. And now let this loving energy come through you as a radiance to others all around you who have similar feelings of unease or fear or distress. Let this radiant energy of love and compassion just come through you to them all, while wishing them deeply well and free of distress. All those around you who have similar feelings. And now just relax deeply into this felt sense of loving energy or warmth or acceptance, however it is for you. And let this help your heart and mind to relax and settle deeply, so your heart and mind can feel able to just relax and release all of its frameworks, which means letting the heart and mind just become completely open like space. Letting the mind become completely open like space. Just relax and release its grip. And let the patterns of experience that arise just unwind and release within this total openness of awareness. Just letting everything be. To unwind of itself in this total openness. So that is the field of care meditation. It's in the receptive mode. It's mainly a process of learning increasing receptivity to the loving qualities of our underlying awareness. And in the releasing phase of that practice, we just let the heart and mind kind of gently fall open. The heart and mind, with repetition and familiarity, if we do this practice quite often, like I've suggested, to reconnect with it repeatedly in our day, even for brief time, a minute or two, we can become familiarized with it enough that our heart and mind begins to feel very, very safe with those loving qualities, because it begins to recognize that those are qualities coming from our underlying awareness. They're not dependent on whether somebody else treats us well enough or not. The field of care is helping us access qualities from the depth of our awareness, our underlying awareness. And then which is trustworthy, actually. It's not going to go away or ignore us if we learn to become more and more receptive to it, this depth of our awareness. We can trust it. And the mind actually can learn that. And it can learn to trust so much that in the releasing phase, the final part of this meditation, you have it in your handout, meditation number 1 and number 2. The mind can begin to trust and relax enough that it can just begin to settle very deeply, let go of its narrow frameworks of sort of clinging to a narrow sense of self and its narrow world. Just relax the grip from inside and just gently fall completely open like space. And begin to reunify with the natural openness underlying or background of openness that was always already here. Begin to settle into, reunify with the basic openness and clarity and warmth of our underlying awareness, of the depth of our awareness, or our beginning to settle more and more into our Buddha nature, to use that Buddhist term. And that releasing phase, and the way I just described it, is the deepening mode of practice. It emerges right out of the receptive mode. Are you following me? The receptive mode is the heart of the practice we just did. The last phase, or releasing phase of it, is drawing us into the deepening mode by beginning to settle into the depth of our awareness from which those loving qualities come. So the next meditation I want to introduce will take us a little further in that direction. That is, having learned in this receptive mode, field of care meditation, how to provide a space of deep acceptance and care and compassion for all of our feelings and parts of ourselves, we could explore now another practice that builds on it, that helps us to do that in an even more direct and simple way. That is, a further practice that can help us provide a space of deep acceptance and care for all of our feelings and all parts of ourselves in an even more direct and simple and immediate way. And I call this next practice that I'm going to introduce compassionate presence to feelings, becoming compassionately, spaciously present to all of our feelings, and also all parts of ourself, all senses of self. This is a practice that I first learned from one of my teachers, Tsogna Rinpoche, who calls it handshake practice. So what I'm going to lead is adapted from that. And in your handout, it's called compassionate presence to feelings. Okay? So in this meditation, we learn how to become directly present to feelings, whatever feelings we're experiencing, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, strong feelings, more subtle feelings, emotional feelings, physical feelings, like physical sensation feelings. Whatever feelings, any kind of feeling, this next practice that we'll engage helps us become directly present to them with spacious compassion, warmth, acceptance, care. So a space is provided for feelings to relax, to settle in their own way, to heal of themselves if they feel wounded, which much further establishes a secure core, inner core that we need to become present to others in a more compassionate and healing way. The way to become present to others like that, in a way that's safe and healing and reliable for them, in order for that to happen, we have to become present to our own feelings, emotions, and so forth in that same way. Unless we learn to become present to our own feelings in that way, we cannot reliably be present to others in that way, a way that is profoundly safe, reliably caring, accepting, healing. The way we relate to our own feelings and the way we relate to others is pretty much the same. If we're afraid of our own feelings, we don't know how to be with them in a safe way, then we are afraid of others who trigger our feelings, and we do not know how to be with them in a safe way either. It's completely connected. So again, we're going to enter into this very direct kind of immediate way to become present to our feelings in a way that provides a space for them in which they can feel very safe, very accepted, totally allowed to be here, not rejected, not ignored, not suppressed or denied, not trying to analyze them from a distance so we can get control over them, not trying to avoid them by distracting ourselves endlessly on our smartphones, or directly, fully present to our feelings in a spaciously compassionate way that gives our feelings what they've always wanted from us, especially like our emotional feelings, which is to be fully allowed to be here without being rejected, avoided, suppressed, fully allowed to be here with a power of spacious, total acceptance, totally allowing in which they can find their own way of being. Begin to feel safe enough to relax in their own way. Not us trying to figure out how to relax them, get control over them, figure them out, ultimately to get rid of them. None of that. A caring space in which our feelings can find their own way of being and can feel safe enough to begin to relax so deeply that they can begin to heal any wounds that they have. Can begin to feel safer with us and us with them. And can deeply settle, so deeply, that they also take us right into the depth of our awareness, into the openness and warmth of our underlying awareness. The feelings can settle so profoundly that that can begin to happen, but not by trying to get them to do that, but by providing the space for them to feel safe enough to find their own way of being here. Is that basically clear? That's the practice we're going to enter into. So again, before we begin, let's again just, can everybody just sit in your seat, drop down from the head into the body, drop down from the thinking mind into the felt sense of the body, the feeling of the body, and become aware from within your body of any feeling related to the pandemic. Any feelings of anxiety or fear, loneliness, stress, worry, grief, frustration, anger, whatever it is. Even subtle, even if subtle. And we will take that into the meditation at some point as well. Okay, so there are 4 principles to this meditation of compassionate presence to feelings, which is a deepening mode meditation. You ready for these 4 principles? The first is noticing the feeling within whatever state of mind or body is occurring. So by feeling, I mean pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling tones, and also physical sensations, how they feel to us, and also importantly, emotional feelings like worry, fear, anxiety, jealousy, whatever it is. Happiness, joy, fine, emotional feelings. So notice the feeling within your state of mind and body. Secondly, first noticing. Secondly, deeply allowing that feeling, letting the feeling have all the space it needs to find its own place here, its own way of being here, deeply allowing it. So please really take that second principle in, because it is the opposite, I think, of how many of us are used to relating to our feelings. Not noticing and then deeply allowing, but if we do notice, suppressing, avoiding, distracting ourselves from, picking up our smartphone, anything to not be with my feelings. I think many of us are conditioned that way, aren't we? Haven't you noticed that yourself? Yes? So this second principle is radically different. And we'll take a little time to keep coming back to and exploring. Could it be that when I notice a feeling, like an emotional feeling, like anxiety, for example, or stress, that I can just deeply allow it, let it have all the space it needs to find its own place here? Could that be? That's the second principle. Deeply allowing it, letting it have all the space it needs to find its own way of being here. So noticing the feeling, allowing it spaciously. The third principle is just resting with it or within it. Just resting with the feeling or within the feeling, not doing anything to it. And that becomes the fourth principle, just letting things be. So noticing the feeling. Secondly, allowing it spaciously, fully allowing it to be here in a spacious way. Thirdly, resting with it or within it, that feeling. Fourthly, just letting things be. Letting things just unfold in their own way. That's all. Nothing to do. Just let things be. Okay, what do you think? Are you up for it? Shall we give it a try? Is anybody panicking and screaming and running out of your room? I don't see anybody doing that, so maybe it's okay? Okay, thank you. So let's just sit in a relaxed way, back comfortably straight. Or maybe actually, do you need to, just in your place, loosen up a little bit before we begin? I'm realizing I need to, but just where you are, just what you need to do to loosen up a little bit. Okay. Shall we give it a try? What do you say? What do we got to lose, right? Okay. So just sit in a relaxed way, back comfortably straight, eyes gazing gently downward. Now just come down from the head into the body. Come down from the thinking mind into the feeling of the body. And breathing into the abdomen so you feel your abdomen expand with each breath. And just settle into the feeling of the body as a whole. With the abdomen expanding and contracting with each breath. So you settle into the feeling of the body. And now notice the physical sensation in any part of your body. Just pick one part of your body and become aware of the physical sensation there in a deeply allowing way, without trying to change it at all. Like the feeling of your foot on the floor or your bottom on your seat or your hand on your lap, whatever it is. Pick one place and become aware of the physical sensation there in a deeply allowing way. Letting that sensation have all the space it needs to find its own way of being here. And if another physical sensation replaces it, then just become aware of that next sensation in the same deeply accepting way, spacious way. Now let any of your emotional feelings from this pandemic crisis be here, or any other emotional feeling that is here for you now, any feeling of If it's the pandemic, perhaps a feeling of anxiety or worry or fear or stress or loneliness or grief or frustration, whatever it is. Even a subtle emotional feeling like just not wanting or not feeling comfortable with how things are, or feeling happy if that's how it is for you. And sense that emotional feeling from within your body, not just thinking about it, but sensing how it feels from within. And any other feeling that starts to come up for you, any other emotional feeling. Even a subtle one, like just not feeling fully comfortable or totally happy right now, if that's how it is. That's a feeling. And become aware of that feeling within you, whatever it is, in a spacious way, with deep permission for it to be here. Fully allowing that feeling to be here, gently welcoming it, without being enmeshed in it, without rejecting it, without trying to solve or change anything in it, without ruminating about why it's here. None of that. Just fully allowing it to be here without trying to do anything to it, like a friend, quietly present to a friend. Let this feeling have all the space it needs to find its own way of being here. And any other feelings that come up, or replace it, be with in that way. Just rest with the feeling in that spacious way. Rest with it or within it, without trying to change anything, just letting things be. And further, underlying feelings may come up, of course, then just be with each feeling in the same spacious, fully accepting, allowing way. Just letting it find its own way of being in this space of acceptance, of allowing. If part of you is having difficulty with this practice, then notice the feeling within that part of you, within that reaction, and become spaciously aware of that feeling in the same way, letting that feeling have all the space it needs to find its own way of being, its own place. As this practice deepens, resting with or within the feeling in such a spacious, deeply allowing way, you might find your mind resting right in the core of a feeling, which might open into a space of deep warmth and calm and peace from within. And if that happens, just relax deeply into that and let everything be. As the practice deepens, you may find your mind resting right in the essence of a feeling, which may open into a space of deep warmth and calm and deep peace from within. And if that happens, just let it happen. Just relax into that and let everything be. And now just let your heart and mind just relax and settle fully into this feeling of spacious acceptance and warmth. And let that help your heart and mind to just trust and deeply relax and release all narrow frameworks of mind. And just let the mind and heart fall gently, completely open like space. And let any patterns of thought or feeling that arise just unwind of themselves within this total openness of awareness. Just letting everything be. Okay. Thank you. So, Cassie or Jen, could you open the chat function for a moment? Would that be possible?
Yep, it's all set. Thanks.
Great. So I have a question, just kind of quick. Could any of you feel a shift in your experience when you became present to a physical or emotional feeling in that kind of spacious, deep, fully allowing way that was instructed? Could any of you feel a shift in your experience or a shift in your awareness happen when you became present to a feeling in that spacious, allowing way? And if so, how would you describe that shift in your awareness in just a word or phrase? Felt expansive, less resistance, subtle, ease, dissolving, more open, flowering, melting, settled, calm, surrender, unburdened, warmth, unlocking peace, compassion, less irritation, softness, resolution, resonance, bright, trusting, weightless, warm, momentarily gave up the stories, peace, relaxation, floating, freedom, equanimity, more joy, awareness, accepting, calm, connection, trust, quiet, okayness, fluid, clarity, love, felt at home, pain opened into love, identityless, ease, no longer obsessed, space, etc. So those are some of the kind of positive experiences that came out of it. Usually the first time someone attempts a practice like this, there can also be reactions that come up that take time to learn how to process. And I'll talk about that tomorrow night some. Walls crumbling, wholeness, giving birth, less fear, no longer obsessed, things like that. Those are some of the positive experiences. And there are also sometimes reactions like, oh, confused, what am I supposed to do? Or I don't like this feeling. It makes me angry to do this, things like that. All those other things can come up too. The basic instruction will become whatever thought reaction comes up, notice the feeling in it. And for many of us, it takes time and repetition of practice to become more precise with it that way. That is, whatever is coming up is actually delivering a feeling. Whatever it is that's coming up is delivering a feeling. And therefore, if we realize that, rather than getting caught up in the reaction, we can use that feeling for the practice. But it requires noticing that. Oh, I'm feeling angry about all this. I don't understand what's going on. I'm angry. Notice the feeling in it, how it feels. And then explore doing this practice with that very feeling. Letting it be here in a deeply allowing, spacious way. Someone said, well, isn't this basic Vipassana practice? And indeed, it is a kind of Vipassana practice. It's just that it's one that is drawing a little bit in a special way from the tradition I'm teaching from, which is Tibetan Nyingma Dzogchen tradition, which is that the essence of the very feeling itself is already one with our deep underlying awareness, our Buddha nature. So we're learning to become present to our feelings in a way that's exercising the compassionate qualities of our Buddha nature, and that helps the feeling, can help the feeling with some, pretty quickly once we catch on, to reunite with its, to open into that deep nature, reunite with that Buddha nature. But we're not forcing that, I'm just pointing that out. That's why it's both a kind of Vipassana, but also a special kind. There are a couple of key points I want to mention before we close for tonight, okay? I'm trying to end after pretty close to an hour each evening. I know how tired some of you must be. First, we need to be careful not to harbor a hidden agenda of getting rid of feelings, getting rid of painful feelings that come up by trying to embrace them in some compassionate way, kind of with the underlying agenda, which may not even be fully conscious to us, of trying to get rid of them by using this technique. Because our feelings are smarter than us. To speak in a certain way, our emotional feelings are smarter than we are. They know what our hidden agendas are even more than we do. If we have an underlying semi-conscious hidden agenda to try to get rid of the feeling in this clever way by being very compassionate toward it, then maybe it'll go away. Oh, John, why didn't it go away quickly? Which indicates that you wanted it to go away, and therefore you were not doing the practice, which was not trying at all to get it to go away, but completely and totally allowing it to be here. the feeling knows that you have that hidden agenda, and it will strengthen. It won't, it's not going to cooperate with that. Our feelings, like the various parts of us, are kind of like children. They're here they need us to learn how to be present to them in a caring way, just like our children do. Our feelings are like that too, and they're not going to go away, and they know better than we do, just like our children are often smarter than we are. Our feelings are too. Is that sort of clear? So you have to sort of be increasingly conscious. Do I have a hidden agenda here of trying to get rid of the feeling by being so lovey-dovey with it? And that is indicated immediately as soon as someone says, oh, John, I did the practice, but the feeling wouldn't go away. What's the matter? So then you know, well, that was your agenda, so of course it won't. It needs a space here of deeply allowing it to find its own place, not you trying to get it to go away in your clever ways. You follow what I'm saying? Okay, secondly, a second key point is we need to do this practice in order to really learn it well, and it's really worth learning well. It can change our whole life. Sorry, but I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but boy, can this change everything. To learn how to be any feeling, fear, terror, rage, anything, that we can actually learn how to be with it in a safe way, that it can feel safe with us, that it can open into its deep nature of openness and warmth and deep and profound okayness. Any feeling that's actually possible, that is really worth learning. Sorry, but it is. But in order to learn it, the practice needs to be repeated a lot, like any of our practices. And we need to learn how to do it with greater and greater precision. And what I mean by that is, whatever reactions come up, like the ones I mentioned, and actually some of them are coming up in our chat list. Whatever reactions come up, whatever chains of thinking come up, are delivering feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feeling tones, and also emotional feelings. So don't get caught up in just the content of the thoughts and the reactions. Zero in on the feeling in it. How's it feeling? Zero in on the feeling and become compassionately present to it just in the way instructed. In that way, everything becomes a helper for the meditation, everything. Every reaction that comes up is delivering the fuel for the meditation itself, everything, everything. And I know some of you might say, well, what about this? What about that? That I was frustrated with this, and I was angry about that, and blah, blah, blah. And I just felt numb, or I just felt indifferent, or whatever it is. All of that is delivering feelings, or all of that is feelings. Sense the feeling in it, sense how it feels, and become present to that feeling in the way instructed. If the feeling dissolves immediately, someone's asking, fine, let it. And notice when there's another feeling and become present to that in the same way. If things are dissolving more and more, then just dissolve with them, that's fine. So there are a few things that this practice raises up. I just want to name them and then we'll finish, we'll stop. One, there can be a profoundly healing effect of the practice. That is, to be with all of our feelings in such an unconditional and spacious way lets them feel safe enough to relax deeply, to unclench, and to heal if they feel wounded. With repetition of practice, you can feel that more and more and more, the healing effect. Secondly, in this practice, feelings have a safe space to open into underlying feelings and eventually into qualities of their deep nature, what we call in some Buddhist traditions, Buddha nature, to open right into their deep nature of warmth, peace from within, a sense of freeing themselves, of freeing up, deep okayness, a loving sense of things. Those qualities can be discovered right in the essence or the core of the feeling, but not by trying to get the feeling to give them to us, by letting the feeling have so much spacious, warm, total acceptance and allowing that the feeling itself can feel safe enough to just profoundly settle. And then it can begin to reveal what's in its very essence or core, those kinds of qualities of our Buddha nature. Thirdly, with familiarizing, we can, by repetition, and again, I recommend that you do the practice quite a lot in the coming week, many times a day if you can, touch in on it for a minute or two or more. By familiarizing, we can learn that we can be with any of our feelings in a spacious, healing way. And that brings out a power of equanimity toward our feelings and the situations that trigger them, which gives us much more inner steadiness, resilience, and courage that we can bring to all of our relationships and our work with others, because we're less and less afraid of our own feelings. And it's our feelings, our fear of our own feelings, that is the root of all fear. So this, by becoming present to our feelings in such a spacious and healing way, a tremendous power of equanimity, of groundedness, a sense of it's okay, no matter what feeling is here, it's okay. That goes a long way towards supporting much more steadiness, resilience, and courage in being with others and working with others. And we don't get so emotionally depleted. And fourthly, lastly, the power to be with our own feelings in this spacious, compassionate way of itself becomes the power to be with others and their feelings in the same way. It's not only or even mainly about us. It's the key to how to be with others in a very safe, reliably caring, stable, healing way. Learning how to be with our own feelings like that is already being like that with others, if we're with them. You follow? That's really how it is. So that was our practice for tonight. And thank you all for showing up. It's really great to be with you all. Again, if you have questions about the practice you would like me to respond to tomorrow evening, then you can send them to the e-address in your welcome letter from the Bowery Center by 11 a.m. tomorrow Eastern Time. Some of you have asked about meditation groups to support you in this practice. And on the course website, the website for this course, under the heading Course Materials from John, are links for meditation practice groups and also other supportive materials. Meditation groups online, if you want that kind of support to continue to explore these practices. And I also just want to give a reminder that I'm offering this course free for the pandemic. So many people are losing their jobs. That was my desire in offering this course. But for any of you who have the means, I do ask you, please consider making a donation, if you can, to support the two sponsoring organizations of this course. That is the Bowery Center and Foundation for Active Compassion, which are really, really crucial. At a time like this, how crucial, how important they are for our world really comes forward, I think. So just a reminder of that. Okay, so thank you all so much for coming, and have a good night. And you're free to go if you want. So I like to watch you a little bit as you leave. So great to see you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.